Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously, welcome back to the show. Today's episode 163 of the show. And before we get started, I'm going to do a bit of house cleaning quick because, well, you guys always like that we do it, so it only makes sense that we, actually do house cleaning because I feel like it's a part of the show, so we always have to do it. But I do want to say thank you guys for coming back and listening. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys constantly keep coming back and you keep downloading these episodes, you keep sharing these episodes, you constantly keep letting me know how you feel, whether you like my stupid face or not, if you're watching the video version, or, listening to my voice, because, well, this podcast started as an audio version only, and, well, now we do both. So, it is what it is. But I do appreciate you guys taking time out of your days to, just hear me out, watch me talk about these topics, because you guys actually vote on them, so you guys let me know what you want me to talk about, which I greatly appreciate that. But I do also want to say thank you for helping us hit close to 2,200 total downloads. I think we're at like 2,195, so just 5 more and then we hit 2,200. But I do greatly appreciate that, so thank you. I do also want to say thank you to Patreon backers. You guys are great. I greatly appreciate your support. Obviously, if you want to become a Patreon backer, you can click the link in the description down below, whether you're listening to the audio version or watching the video version. There's a link down there so you can be a Patreon backer and do with all that diddly bob. But aside from that, let's talk about today's topic, because I'm not going to say that it's not weird, because it is. So what are we talking about exactly? We're going to be talking about the AirPods 3. And the reason this is a bit finicky is because information is constantly changing. And there's a reason I wanted to put this off for a while, because the information has been very wild. And even at the time of this recording, there's current debates about when they'll actually launch, but we at least have an idea of what the general design is going to look like. And I do want to talk about it because, as much as I always give the original AirPods flack, I do understand why a lot of people like them and why they're important in the space, because they definitely pushed the wireless earbuds into a much better direction and definitely pushed for more competition, especially since there really wasn't that much competition in that space to begin with. And the fact that now, like when the original AirPods launched, they definitely pushed other companies to be like, hey, we got to make good products because we want people to buy our stuff. Granted, yes, I still agree that the original AirPods are not my favorite. I do understand why they're loved, because they're just great devices for using for video calls and stuff like that because of the microphones inside of them. But in terms of sound quality, I do prefer the Pros, even though, yes, not that much of a jump, because you can definitely get much better sounding earbuds or headphones. But we're here to talk about the AirPods 3, or at least the alleged name of them. But I do want to preference this and make this very clear when we have this discussion, that information is changing. So anything I say in this video could clearly be outdated in probably a day or two. But I'm going by what I know right now, and I want to share the most recent information with you. So what do we know so far? Because I know a lot of people are like, okay, do we actually know what these things look like? And the answer is yes, we do. Or at least a general consensus that the leaks have been very consistent with how they look. And it's definitely a hybrid between the originals and the Pros, which made sense, especially because people really like the idea of the originals, but they also like the more convenient form factor of the Pros. So I feel like meeting halfway in the middle is a good idea. Personally, that's my personal preference, that it makes sense to go somewhere in between, because going in between definitely helps out a lot of stuff. So what do I mean? So the case is no longer the original. I don't know what you would really call the original AirPods case. Like, would you call it an oval? Would you call it a rectangular prism cylinder, like I don't know what you would really call it. And then obviously, yes, we know that the Pros are much more, more of a rectangle or rectangular shape, while the originals were more of an oval shape. So probably it's a better way to describe them. But now this one is definitely the middle of the road, where it's almost like a square. It looks like a pillow essentially. And I think that's cool. I think going for that more of the middle ground, showing that, hey, this is a new generation, but it's also incorporating things from the old and more recent variants of the AirPods. But the main design change is going to be with how they actually look, the earbuds themselves, where now they're adopting more of the Pro style with the smaller stem, because people realize, hey, that's actually much more comfortable. It's just easier to work with rather than the large stem that comes with your original AirPods. But they also added some of the touch features that come with the new stem model, which is the smaller one that the Pros have, the haptic touches and things like that. But the main thing is, yes, these will not come with the active noise canceling and the transparency mode that comes with the Pros, because they're like, hey, we want to save these features for the higher end model, because it's fair. Like, I don't see why you would just put ANC and the transparency mode on your, cheaper, more affordable option, or the entry level in this case. But it makes sense in my opinion. Do I agree with it? No. I think that at least give ANC, like, you can keep the transparency mode and keep that as a special feature with the Pros, but at least throw them a bone, But what I've also been seeing was the change in design, where the original idea where they were supposed to be with the changeable ear tips like the Pros, because that was one of the main selling points of the Pros, is interchangeable ear tips. Like, hey, you can get a small, medium, or large, or hopefully third parties can make the foam memory tip so they just sink in your ears. But this is where things have been very conflicting, because there were original rumors and leaks that they were going to have the interchangeable tips, and now current leaks are just showing that it takes more inspiration from the original AirPods, the more universal fit. I get why that makes sense. You want this to be the more entry-level model, so it makes sense that to have a more universal fit, because some people really like the universal fit of the original AirPods, some people didn't. So it just, it's kind of up in the air. But one of the main things is in terms of the release date. And this is where it's really hard to believe who is right, because John Prosser has mentioned multiple times that, yes, the AirPods 3 are ready. Like, they are ready. Like, they're products that are ready, just like AirTags, just like the new iPad. There's products that are already ready. They're just waiting for them to ship. But the problem is, when will they ship? And this is where a lot of people had debates that they're going to be showing off at the new Apple event. But Mark Gurman, one of the most trusted Apple leakers on the planet, came out and said that, hey, they probably won't start shipping until, or at least preparing them until, like Q3. That means that they really won't come out until like the end of the year. And this is where people tend to have a little bit of a problem, because they don't know who to trust in this case, especially when you have some people confirming like, hey, it's going to happen at the Apple event. It makes sense. AirTags, iPad, let's throw some new AirPods because they're ready to go. But then Mark Gurman comes out of nowhere and says, hey, about that, they're actually going to come out near the end of the year. And this is where it's hard for me to believe, especially because the information has been very volatile with the AirPods 3. Like, prime example, like the leak showing the design. The original idea was that they were going to have interchangeable tips, and now leaks are showing that, hey, they're not. They're more of the universal style. So it's one of those things where it's really difficult to trust. And this is the benefit of being a consumer, is you have to learn to do your homework. You have to be willing to look into what could be true and what's not true. Like, you have to do these things your own, because yes, it's nice that I can come in front of a camera, talk to you, or your other popular YouTubers they like watching, that they can, go in front of a camera, tell you about this and this and this. But the end of the day is, you have to be doing your own homework. You have to be doing your own research. You have to be looking in between the lines yourself, and not just relying on someone else, because that information can be construed. So you have to be willing to do your own homework. And that's hard. Like, I know some people say as techies or, average consumers shouldn't be doing that, but no, that's what helps improve the market, is when you're not just blindly buying something when there could be something that's a better fit for you, but you're just not willing to look into it. And I feel like this is an instance where we really need to be weighing our options here, and we really need to be weighing the information that we're getting, because as we're seeing, it's a very sporadic change. Like, we hear one thing and then we hear another. It's like, like, come on, man. Like, what is the truth at this point? Do I believe that they'll possibly show up at the Apple event? If they are ready to go, and I'm stating this as my opinion and not stating this as fact, if they are ready to go, then I don't see why they won't be shown off at the Apple event, especially because they need something to fill in the time gap. Because let's be honest here, doing a whole event just on AirTags and a new iPad is probably a bad idea because there's not enough time. Like, I would say yes, there is enough time, but the problem is like, is that really a good use of time? You get what I'm saying? Like, do you really want to spend like over an hour talking about two products? Like, no, I think that's dumb. Yes, I do believe AirTags will be shown due to the fact that it is a brand new product market for Apple. This is a new space that they haven't touched. So it makes sense that they want to spend a little bit more time talking about it. But the AirPods are definitely something that they have been doing for a while. And it only makes sense that, hey, this is something that can easily be talked about, you know, not really that much of a big deal. I wouldn't say that much of a big deal, but this will obviously replace the original AirPods or the wireless or the Gen 2 AirPods, specifically those. The Pros aren't going anytime soon. I don't see those. They'll probably get a refresh maybe later in the year, maybe next year. Like, I have no idea. But we can confirm that there are new AirPods being made. And this is something where I just believe as consumers, we definitely have to be doing our own homework. Yes, do I believe that, you know, if I'm generally being honest, I don't necessarily care so much about new AirPods, especially because I have my Pros and my Pros are perfectly fine. If anything, I'll probably just, you know, just swap out the battery or just get a new set of Pros just so I can have a better battery. But this is one of those instances where you just don't know. And it's weird. And that's okay that we don't know everything because, like I said, these are all leaks. These are just rumors. These are all speculation, essentially. We know that they're coming. That's not what's on the table here to debate. What's on the table is, like, who do you really trust? And this is a very difficult thing because trust is not something that just be given out, you know? Like, it has to be earned. And I do trust John and his sources, but John has even admitted that, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, maybe Mark Gurman knows something that even his sources don't know. And for me, I think it's just going to be fascinating because the whole debate is really with the Apple event. Is it going to happen next week or not? That's the big debate. And John has even betted his eyebrows on it that it's like, well, you know, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Right now, at the time I was recording, you know, they should have sent out invites by now, but we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe they're delayed, or maybe it would be a shadow drop, and who knows. But from my personal opinion and perspective of things, I just think that it's pretty interesting that we've gotten to the point that we have. I don't really foresee much with the new AirPods Pro, like, or not even AirPods Pro, just AirPods 3. That's probably the better way to call them. To me, I do think it was smart to incorporate the design of the Pros because I like the design of the Pros. I like them more than the long stem because they're much more practical. They're more interactive than the longer stem, which I know some people say, well, I like the longer stem. And I'm like, well, you're insane because the smaller stem is technically better. I like it more because it has much more room for interaction, like the tap, you know, the haptics and things like that, like the tap to touch and stuff like that. It's much more than what the originals were, where you couldn't really do much. Where with the Pros, with the stem, you could do much more. You could like tap twice to skip, you know, tap 3 to move on, play and pause, etc., etc., or hold it, and I don't know. But what do you guys think? Like, do you guys actually care about new AirPods? Like, I know people that do because you guys voted on this episode. Like, I know it's definitely a much smaller, or this is a shorter episode than usual, but I just don't want to beat around the bush and just waste your guys' time because I don't just want to make like a 20 to 30 minute video talking about something that is very up in the air. Like, I just want to share the information with you guys and put it out there because that's what I believe is fair and ethical is, hey, let me share you this information, but let me also, you know, put a big red dot in the whole point and say like, yes, this is subject to change. Let's be very mindful about this. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below if you're watching the video version, or you can hit me up on my social medias if you're listening to the audio version. Again, I greatly appreciate you guys' time for listening to this episode, for watching this episode, for downloading it, sharing it with whoever you want to share it with. I'm really grateful. I'm humbled. I also greatly appreciate all the the interactions, because you guys, like, just being honest, last week was a pretty hard week if you've seen or watched or heard last week's episode. But I greatly appreciate everyone that reached out. It really does mean a lot to me, and you guys are great. I love you guys, so thank you for that. But I hope you guys enjoy this week. I know that we haven't been able to do Friday episodes, especially because, you know, schedule's been a bit tight. There's things going on, and I'm just like, I don't have time. And I know some people say, well, you can make time. I'm like, that's not how that works. Like, I wish I could, but there's just definitely a lot of stuff that has to get done, and I want to get it done. You know, like, I don't want to half-ass something, especially because, like I've said, school comes first. That's just fair. I think that's fair, and we all agree. Like, in my case, school comes first. Like, yes, I love doing the podcast. I love doing video. I love doing photography, but school will always come first. That's just how it is. But I greatly appreciate you guys' time. I appreciate you guys, you know, listening. Again, you guys are great. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And let me know what you guys think. Do you guys care? Are you guys excited for the new AirPods? And I'll definitely keep you guys updated as new information comes out, or if we finally get the official release, which when the Apple event happens, we will talk about it, because there will be things to talk about. But I greatly appreciate you guys' time. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. Please continue to be safe. Don't do anything dumb, guys. You know, the world is still weird out there. It's still pretty weird, not gonna lie, Chief. But I just hope you guys continue to take care of yourselves, continue to take care of everyone around you, be mindful and respectful of the people around you guys, because you just don't know how people will feel about things. But I thank you guys for your time. Please continue to be safe. You know, don't do anything dumb. Have yourselves a wonderful week and weekend, and I will see you guys next week. Bye, guys.
Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.